Hello and welcome to Creature Club. It's a mostly weekly podcast all about the monsters of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm your host Daniel, and I'm joined, as usual, by my friends Mikey,
sup,
and Tim.
What it is.
That's what I say, man. That's my thing. Get off my cloud.
This week we are talking about, or we are starting to talk about, is probably fair to say, demons. Demons have been a part of Dungeons and Dragons for a long time. It's also part of the reason Dungeons and Dragons got in trouble back in the 70s and 80s. But as you can imagine, this is a pretty large section of the monster manual, so we're going to break it up a lot. We're going to kind of take our time with each individual monster. We might even mix it up a bit, do a monster or two, and then skip over to another monster, and then come back to demons. We're going to just play it by ear and see whatever we feel would be most interesting for both us and you as the listener.
Yeah, like we don't want to be doing demons for the next 3 months now. So
it would be a pretty long time.
It's also extremely dangerous
we'll go back
to talk about demons live on a podcast for more than a specified amount of time because, demons classically, when they start getting talked about, they do their old possession thing, and, we don't want to put ourselves in danger or you in danger. So we're going to be giving you a little bit of history about various little parts and about the word demon and various specifics, because the history of demons is extremely broad. And I did a short dive into a little bit of the general history. We're going to break it up, and there's going to be little bits and pieces over the course of probably the next probably about a month, maybe, I'd say.
Well, we might not do the demon lords because we'll save that for a bit later when we get on to Mordecai's Tome of Foes, because they show up in that.
Indeed.
So right now we're just going to talk about the small guys and the not so small guys.
We're going to focus on the actual stat blocks we got here in this monster manual, because in fact the demon lords do get statted up in Mordecai's Tome of Foes. A lot of them have their own stat blocks, and they are as dangerous as you'd imagine. So I think we should probably give them the kind of proper time, and when we get to that book, we'll cover all them in a lot more detail.
All right.
Yes.
Great.
So, Tim, you said that you did a bit of research. Shall we start from the beginning and the most broad? What's a demon?
Well, so the word demon originally comes from Greek, but the original demon word doesn't actually carry any immediately negative connotations. So, saying you were a demon, which is more pronounced daemon apparently, it would mean you were kind of a genius almost, or your knowledge of something was nearly divine. Like Plato was described as a demon or a daemon because his insights into healing and all of the weird, bizarre, if you look into some of Plato's work, or it might be Pliny and Plato, they're just kind of two big old geniuses of the world that just had these incredible intuitions, and they came up with these very broad ideas for how various things worked. And so they were pronounced demons, but it wasn't negative. It was to describe their huge intuition and connection, apparently, with some kind of divine idea. The idea of demon being an evil spirit, from kind of our understanding, comes from Latin, where it is a daemon, which only means an evil spirit. Whereas with the Greek daemon, there were agathodemons, who were the kind of good spirits, and then there were, I think it was cocodemons, who were the bad guys. Demon kind of basically had just a general divine idea from Greek, but then with Latin it became just almost entirely evil. And so from there it became part of various religions and occultism and folklore and mythology, and there is enormous depth in every single aspect of demonology, because there are statues even from, I think it's about 1,000 years BC. They have images of all kinds of statues and generally quite bizarre looking creatures that partly humanoid but also partly animal. The kind of most famous example would be Baphomet, who is one of the demon lords described in the books, but he's the goat-headed individual who has kind of typically quite masculine figures, but also has sometimes has one breast and sometimes has two, and has the caduceus, the staff of Mercury, like center to his symbol, but also has like a pentagram. So they were these the kind of demons that we understand are these kind of perversions of humanity, and they were considered to be like these spiritual entities, and they kind of had a few specific traits. Like typically a demon would be able to cause possession and hence would need some kind of exorcism, so there would need to be some religious almost authority to deal with these things. Like religions took this stuff seriously because they were preaching that there was something beyond humanity and humanity's understanding, but they were trying to preach the good, but people found these twists in it that it could be read as this terrible thing. So in Christianity, they addressed it in what's the book? Revelations, where like they basically said, yes, our God is good, but there are demons that will be unleashed on the world. Like all these things will happen. And like every religion throughout history has had some mention of how to deal with these things or how to stay away from them, and to give yourself the power to fight them, essentially, by attaching yourself to these religions and these gods. And then in folklore as well, you'd have individuals who would face a demonic power or some kind of possessed creature and deal with them in some smart or canny way. Like in Irish folklore, I can't remember specifically who it was, but somebody faced death, basically, and they had this canny way that I can't specifically remember right now of basically getting around what this demon was
Diagonally.
trying to do to them. Yeah, basically thinking diagonally. No more straight lines.
Sneaky move. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, you just gotta beat him in a game of chess or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And so from all of that, developed all of these ideas of, like, in more recent history, within the last 200 years or so, there became these kind of occult ideas. These people who believed in these esoteric things, but I looked into the word occult even, and it means that there are secrets. It's kind of knowledge of the hidden or knowledge of the paranormal, and these esoteric ideas of not everyone will be able to understand, but like we will protect you from these things. And the occult was used in the 16th century, even as early as then, to describe astrology and alchemy and the natural magics. And only in the last 200 years would the kind of modern ideas of the Wicca and the Thelema ideas be brought to the fore, which kind of built on the ideas of this order that I found that I love the name of, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. That was a real thing in Great Britain that existed. Like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn.
Sounds like a covenant in Dark Souls, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
It sounds like something completely
Even
made
in
up.
Bloodborne, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right, actually.
And so like a lot of the kind of Western and kind of English speaking orders essentially came from that central order, which kind of scattered into Wicca and Thelema and all of those bits and bobs. And then we lead up to today, where everybody can believe whatever they want, and that's cool. But just don't hurt anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, and no one has any problem with that. The human order has ascended. It's all good.
Yeah.
I don't know if any aliens are listening to this. 2018, it's actually a great year. We've really nailed down a lot of kind of issues we were having.
Peace on Earth.
It's
like
it's
everybody.
really-
It's actually incredible. Like people can wholeheartedly believe in one thing while accepting that other people believe something else. It's incredible.
In fact, if aliens,
world.
we've probably peaked. If aliens could just come along and destroy the planet, it'd probably be for the best.
Yeah, because
do that, please. Thanks, aliens.
I know you're busy with like
But yeah,
flying saucers and stuff, but I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, and like crop circles and like taking our cows or something. Like just blow
And,
it
like,
up all around
probing
it.
individual people who are really like unreliable, so that nobody ever believes that they're around. Like,
dude, I watched the fourth kind recently, the movie about that place up in Alaska that had all those kind of invasion things. It is a scary thing. Like there's the 4 different kinds of contact. Like I can't remember what the first 2 are, but close encounter of the third kind is contact, and the fourth kind is abduction. So you're scaring me now talking about aliens. Aliens don't have anything to do with demonism.
Yeah, we'll get.
Well, they might.
We'll do that when we get to the aliens episode, Tim.
Aliens. They're in a different series. I know we're past A.
Aliens in D&D. But yeah, so demons have been in fantasy fiction for ages because, of course, they've been in our folklore for ages, and because they've been in fantasy fiction, they've been in D&D since day one. So demons are just kind of a go-to thing for fantasy, and they're pretty cool. And because nowadays they're kind of like, do what you want with them. They are bad monster things that come from hell. D&D have decided to kind of make up their own little history and lore about it, and kind of their own specifics about demons. That's,
like they're a very classic
grand,
malevolent force that are, typically most people find them a bad time. But then you'll have people who are like, nah, man, he promised me power.
And you don't really talk to those guys.
How to make a bad guy. Tell somebody he'll give them power, and then he'll be a little bit selfish and go for it. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, to touch on their history very briefly, as you described, basically accurately, they've been around since the beginning. They've been around since Eldritch Wizardry, if you remember. We've actually covered that book before, I think.
Yes, a little bit.
As part of another creature club. But that was where they introduced the 6 types of demons, which now all have their own nice names. But originally they were just known as types 1 through 6. And there's even references to that in this edition of the Monster Manual on page 52. It says demons by type. There's a little table there, and that gives you a breakdown of what the different types are. It's just 1 through 6, with 1 being the weakest and 6 being the most powerful and or dangerous.
And that's kind of how they've been all the way through?
Well, some of these guys have been introduced more kind of recently. The Goristro, for example, was introduced in 2nd edition, and now it's kind of another Type 6 demon. It's approximately equal to the Balor, whereas back in AD&D, the Balor was the Type 6 demon. There was no such thing as another Type 6 demon.
Big bad Balor.
Yeah, the very same creature we are covering today, in fact, along with the lore.
Indeed.
But yeah, so some of these guys have showed up a little later, but broadly speaking, the Vrock, the Kazmi, the Glabrizu, oh Jesus, the Nalfashni, the Marilith, and the Balor, I think, are all from the 1st edition of the game, because those are all then the original types, and then the rest of them might have been introduced later. In sort of most of them were introduced in 2nd edition, although, as you'd imagine, every edition has had lots of demons. There was even, if you remember, we've mentioned a couple times now, there was even a couple of new demons introduced in the Lost Caverns of Sojkanth. That adventure module we've had on the show a couple of times, because it was the appearance of the Behir, and there was a Demilich that we just mentioned as well. As you'd imagine, a creature as flexible as the demon has showed up in a lot of adventure modules. A lot of new types of demons have been introduced with time. But a couple of them, and certainly the types that we have in this book, in the 5th edition Monster Manual, it's focusing on kind of like the classics. It's sort of like a greatest hits list, almost, of like the demons we've encountered.
Yeah, like
yeah,
what?
Just the hits.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it.
Like the demon, the idea of a demon is so broad that you can definitely come up with something yourself. Like, demons are a fun idea to play around with. Like, having demonic possession like be part of your world is a really, really cool thing. And I think it's definitely to be utilized as broadly as possible.
Yeah, like there's like even more, there's more in Volo's Guide to Monsters, there's more in Mordecain's, as we said. There's like so many more demons other than in this book, so we're not going to be done talking about demons for a while. I know personally I like to use demons as basically like an interesting zombie, really, where if you think about zombies, your players are just like a bad thing that your players can kill, and they don't feel any remorse about it. I like to think zombies are similar, I just think demons are similar because they can be interesting, they can be memorable, but they're just this bad thing from hell that you can throw at your players and they're fine with killing them, instead of like this soldier who you're like, should I kill the soldier? He has a family back home. Maybe I shouldn't. But demons, like, no, they're just bad. They want to eat you. Just kill them,
Yeah. shall we jump into what this book says about demons?
Let's
do that.
So we are not going to read all of the text here because it is literally a page of text, and that is bad audio. Unless this was an audiobook. Also, wizards might just come after us. Like at that stage, they're like, "No, you can't just read the monster. You can't like that's not.
Come on, man.
That.
Yeah,
but I will read the first paragraph because that's a nice summary, and then we'll jump through all the sort of the rest of it in Cliff Notes version. Will just give you everything you need to know. Demons. Spawned in the infinite layers of the abyss, demons are the embodiment of chaos and evil, engines of destruction barely contained in monstrous form. Possessing no compassion, empathy, or mercy, they exist only to destroy.
You kind of sound like a satanic
Autobots, roll out.
in there. or Optimus Prime, actually, yeah.
The satanic Optimus Prime. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Hail Satan, it's me, your hero, Optimus Prime.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Nothing. Vote for the Republican Party.
Okay, that's fine.
What did Optimus Prime? What did Optimus Prime? Is Optimus Prime getting political in his old age?
Sounds like he is.
Whoa.
So yeah, the first cliff note here is Spawn of Chaos, and as we said, they are chaotic. So other than we'll get to the devils, but the devils are considered lawful, and the demons are considered chaotic. So they are from the abyss, and they are pure chaos, and they want to eat people and kill people. Can't really be reasoned with, to be honest with you. So
Yeah.
they're from the abyss, which is just an abyss.
The
really.
abyss is like
That's
a kind of a piece of like it's almost like a sort of a chaotic planar tumor on the world, on the planes of existence, if you like. It's sort of a big bad thing.
That's a great description. A great way to imagine it.
Yeah, I mean, because I think that's pretty accurate. Like, it exists purely to destroy everything around it. It's constantly trying to infect every part nearby and like destroy them and make them like itself. And it has no necessary like useful part to it. It is purely just sort of a destructive piece of planar infrastructure.
Awesome.
Yeah. But it has a fun little thing where if you stare at it, it stares back at you.
That's true. Yeah, it's a really good staring contest.
Yeah, it's pretty good at that. So next, that's that. They're chaotic. Next point.
British Elevation, basically, demons only really respect power. That's all they care about. Demons are incredibly self-centered, so there is very little in the way of advancement in the world of demons. The main reason that a demon of greater power will give power to a lesser demon is because they need to give it to them so they can perform a task for the greater demon. And talks about the idea that like demon lords are always loath to give away any power to any demon followers for fear that they might accidentally create a rival. But of course, that's sort of mixed with the fact that all demon lords are constantly in contest, so they always all need to be the most powerful, which means they need powerful followers. So there's sort of a self balancing there, almost like an arms race that they all have to take part in.
Yeah, and like the power that they have to kind of accrue, they have to accrue it through their followers, as you said. And there's no like they have to buy the next level up basically, because they can. It says here that they might spawn as a mains and then become a dretch, so they will transform.
Yeah,
their physicality will transform through this kind of levels of elevation, almost kind of like a very barbaric feudal system, you know?
Yeah, and even like it's fair to say that the nature of the abyss is kind of a chaotic and plane with rogue power in it. Might mean that some creatures just become other creatures more or less powerful just by happenstance.
Like the abyss will grant someone more power because of what they've done and how
almost like the abyss will grant
they've
them
gathered.
power, but not for any reason because it's so chaotic. Like nobody knows why. Maybe there isn't a reason. It's just like coincidence.
Yeah, like two mains will be spawned beside each other in the plains of the abyss, and then one will punch the other one in the face and kill him, and then he'll suddenly become a dretch or something. You know,
exactly.
Or not even one
up.
mains might have to like punch through miles and miles of other mains to become a dretch, whereas like it's so chaotic that it could be this just happens, or like you have to go through all these trials to become it. So it's an unfair, terrible, awful place.
So is there mains out there in the demon realm just killing a bunch of boars to level up into a dretch?
Get me 10
Yeah,
boar
in the safe
asses.
areas.
No. That actually kind of leads to probably something cool that maybe in the hells and or the abyss, actually that's what these guys are from. That there's some almost like there's a weird power politics going on between like the demon princes, and they all have different followers and stuff. But you don't really have adventures in the abyss anyway, so whatever. But speaking of which, abyssal invasions. That's the next point. Basically, what they do is they want to get away from the abyss and slip into other worlds, because you wouldn't really have a D&D adventure if they didn't go to your mortal realm and try and eat your family. So
Stop, he's eating my family.
And that's it. They try to get through, and it talks about how they're incredibly dangerous if they do find a portal, undoing the work of gods, tearing down civilizations, and reducing the cosmos to despair and ruin. Dun dun dun. And then it talks about
you can fix the cosmos though. That's fine. You can fix that
yeah.
the weekend.
That's what the wish spell's for.
Yeah, that is absolutely a mechanic that I used very heavily in my campaign. Just for a couple, maybe little spoilers if anybody ever plays in my game. Like they basically like open a portal suddenly, and then everything starts like going to shit. Like for there to be suddenly this portal to the abyss and all of these other demons are pouring through, then that is a big old deal that everyone in the world is probably going to have to deal with, because if it happens in my context in a large city, then the world or the gods or like everything is going to do everything that they can to undo what has happened and kind of mitigate as much of the disaster as they can.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yes.
And that's what it says here.
Agreed. That's right.
Basically that people will generally band together to try and destroy demon outbreaks because they are so dangerous to the world.
Precisely.
Although,
like Independence Day, the film.
Actually, like in Independence Day, the film. Yeah, actually, that's a very on point reference. Literally the exact same.
Welcome to Earth.
I mean, obviously they came from space rather than heck or whatever, but same idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can kind of say that there's like a portal in the air, like the Avengers style, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so basically the next heading is Eternal Evil, which talks about the idea that basically demons don't die like mortals. If they are killed outside of the abyss, they just reform in the abyss. They don't even notice it, basically. And so the only way to end the life of a demon is actually to go to the abyss and kill it there.
Yeah, which is a nice prompt, I think. Like,
yeah,
if you're coming up with ideas for adventures, you're like, I don't know, you face a demon, and if they kill it, they're like, they might celebrate it in a local town, and then an old wizened man will be like, he'll come for you again. You know he will.
Shut up, old man.
Shut up, old man. You don't know nothing.
Get out of here.
How many times do you have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Pushing down a flight of stairs.
Oh no. That killed the old man.
Anyway, what was he saying? And then the demon eats you when you're sleeping.
No. But you skipped over one little title there, the signs of corruption, which basically just says like they'll be a stain. Like wherever they go, there will be badness following them. Like flowers will become corrupt and trees will be
they salt the earth where they walk, sort of thing. Like
gross. Yeah. But the eternal evil thing is definitely the more interesting point.
No, you're absolutely right. I completely missed it, which is a shame because actually I sort of like it. I sort of like the idea that you're like, something bad happened here 1 billion years ago.
Wow.
A bajillion billion years ago.
I must do something about it now.
That's how you exposit whenever you play D&D. It's the sound of you losing
Daniel
all
has something
interest.
to say.
So after that, Eternal Evil, which we covered, and then the next point is Protected Essence. This one's a little weird, but it is a cool quest hook. It establishes the idea that a demon can create a sort of a special artifact called a demonic amulet, which is a item that contains a part of its essence. It's actually not dissimilar to a lich's phylactery in theory. It effectively guarantees that creature cannot be destroyed as long as their amulet exists somewhere.
Yeah, it's kind of like an earthly binding. Basically.
Exactly. Yeah, and so like they can hide it somewhere else in the abyss, or they could hide it in another plane. But the basic idea is that it means that even if you went to the abyss and killed a demon, if they had one of these amulets, the amulet would mean that they could come back. But it also talks about the idea that the amulet gives you power over the demon because it sort of lets you demand that they perform tasks for you, and then kind of use it as a way to hurt them or injure them if they don't obey you. So it's sort of a risk, obviously.
It kind of forces them into kind of indentured servitude, essentially.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Like you could just put them on a task and have them do it forever.
Yeah.
Kind of like a legendary Pokemon.
Yeah, actually, similar idea. But the legendary Pokemon will kill you if you ever let it.
I was just gonna say my role in today's episode is just saying it's like this thing.
Yeah, I love it. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's giving a lot of context.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up, demonic cults. People worship demons because the demons give them power. If they want to get power from the demons, they have to do bad things, and if they want to get more power, they have to do worse things. So that's it, basically.
I think that's a cool way to kind of develop characters. Like if you have a long-running campaign, the way that I would use this would be like I would introduce a kind of a not very nice character early on, but have them be relatively ineffective to the world. But then in later parts of the campaign, they might suddenly become more powerful or like level up with you, and they'll become an actual threat rather than just this kind of inconvenience while you're trying to get your friend out of jail for being in a pub brawl or something.
Yeah. And if you are interested in demonic cults, we will probably cover this, but it will be much later. Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes has, in my opinion, one of its best parts is it lists some cool powers you can give your cultists. And they're very simple. They're literally like, here's a cool power for your cultist, here's another power for your cult leader. And you just bolt these on to existing NPC stat blocks to get cultists. And so if you are interested in using cults, I would recommend those because they are all kind of thematic and fun. I wouldn't say overall I don't think it's enough of a reason to buy Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes because I don't think it's a great book overall. But if you already have it, in my opinion, it's the worst spot book so far. Volo's Guide is super good. Xanathar's Guide is fine, except I'm a DM more than a player, really. So I'm like, cool, yeah, more player options. I don't care. But it has got monsters in the back, so it's fine. I think maybe it hasn't. I've forgotten. But yeah, then Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes is just really there's a lot of writing in it. Which
it tries to give more context to stuff that is already established that was loose enough that you could do whatever you wanted with it. It basically, I think it fills in the gap that they left for players, and I don't think that's really great.
I'd agree, and I'd say my other criticism of it was that it was reliant on the idea that your setting uses the D&D's rules. So you use the 9 hells, for example, which I don't in my setting. So as soon as it's here's how the 9 hells work, I'm like, I don't have those, so this is much less useful.
Yeah, I guess there's some people out there who actually are into the D&D lore stuff,
totally,
and
like that,
I guess you have to put it into a book. I guess that's for the reason. But I do agree. I don't really care for too much about the 9 hells and stuff. I kind of like to keep it ambiguous myself. Yeah. But it's there, and that's fine.
Yeah, it's not a bad book, but it's certainly my least favorite so far. I would say that I didn't.
It does have a bunch of.
Go on.
I was just gonna say it has a bunch of great monsters in there. I really like it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it has a bunch of great monsters, but unlike the other books, I didn't read it through because it wasn't interesting enough.
You just stopped at the best bit, Daniel.
No, I didn't.
Did you get to the part where he something?
I stopped.
Anyway, next one, demons.
So no, I'm pretty sure I was in the right.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it was.
But that's when
that's in that book.
But that's when Frodo gets the ring from Bilbo.
Bilbo, I'm dying.
I'm dying, Bilbo. I've got bonitis.
Bilbo, my luck is running out. Demon summoning.
Okay.
So basically, if you've ever played a wizard or a spellcaster, it's what's it about? It's about where we talk about
summoning demons.
Just say stupid references where nobody
literally
gets them.
Nobody. These references are for no one. They're for us.
Yeah, we just talk shit.
This
constantly.
podcast is kind of for no one, to be honest
That's
with you.
fair, actually. Yeah, that's
it's
accurate.
for you guys, our listeners, and we love you. Come on now. We mustn't forget our devoted
I don't think they
listeners.
understand a word we're saying half the time.
Demon summoning.
You guys are still great. If you are a spellcaster, you probably know that you have a bunch of spells that you can learn where you summon demons. So that's what this comes from, really. But what does it say in this book here?
Don't do it. It's a bad idea.
Yes, it's dangerous. They could not want to be summoned, or they don't want to be summoned by you, and they would eat you.
Yeah.
So, and I know with the spell, it's like you have to roll something, I think, and if you roll bad, he turns against you, or he goes crazy and starts to attack all the friendly, innocent bystanders who are there.
Yeah, like big risk, very little reward. Like the reward is going to be you now. There's a demon.
Yeah, I think the idea is that like
your friend.
if you are a very powerful spellcaster, you can bind the demon in some way. Similar to those demonic amulets, the idea that you can make it so that it has to obey you, or you can trap it. Like, for example, the magic circle spell is a great example of that. You could like basically put a magic circle in place so that maybe a demon is only able to guard your hoard of treasure or whatever because it's trapped in this one room.
Speaking of binding demons,
Oh yeah.
I just want to say real quick, do summon demons, because summoning is rad in D&D.
Yeah.
Do it all the time. But yes, Tim, continue.
don't do it in the real world. In the real world, it's a bad idea.
Yeah, don't summon demons in the real world.
But speaking of bound,
Yeah, well, we did.
Sorry. Speaking of
I was
binding
gonna say,
demons,
whatever. Just go.
the next title
My turn.
is
No,
Bound
sorry,
Demons. I'm sorry I talked over your interruption. I'm sorry. Yeah, the next section is basically about doing exactly that, like binding them to items or weapons or books, or finding a way to basically keep them to your will, or to empower something that you have, basically.
Yep.
And there's a couple examples that mean literally nothing to me. The Book of Vile Darkness, the Black Scrolls of Om, and the Demonomicon of
Igluiv.
Igluiv.
the Black Scrolls of. That's what it's called.
The Book of Vile Darkness is in the Dungeon Master's Guide, actually. It's a very, very powerful spell tome that does something. I can't remember. I don't really care.
Did we cover it in an episode?
No,
No,
because I think it's in the artifact section rather than the normal item section,
right.
so we haven't got to it yet.
Get ready for Artifact Corner coming soon to a Creature Club near you.
The new show from the Creature Club
The
guys.
other thing about binding demons is, as well as obviously making maybe an item more powerful, the other thing it says is that, like summoning them with a magic circle, you are trapping them, and that's important. You're literally, you are getting a demon and you are putting it somewhere and trapping it there so that it's not able to do whatever. So that's also a thing, is like, even though what's interesting is that even though here it talks about the idea of like the Book of Vile Darkness and the Black Scrolls of like the idea
And the Denomicon of Iggy Pop.
of Iggy Pop. I am the passenger of this bound item.
Yeah.
But the idea that, like, you might be a good character, but you choose, because you cannot defeat a demon, to bind it into an item, or into, say, a baby, like in hit show Naruto, The Adventures of Boruto's dad.
Yep.
So for example, like you might be almost forced to perform this act as a way of preventing a demon from causing more trouble, which is, unfortunately, it doesn't mention here as like an actual thing you might want to do, but I think that's a totally valid sort of thing for a hero to decide to do. Okay, so we are almost done. Demonic possession. Basically, if you have one of those items, or you summon demons or something, you might end up with a situation where something goes terribly wrong, and instead of the demon being bound by the spell or the item, they are not. And in that case, they might possess a mortal host. And at that stage, they basically are inside them, and they can either pretend to still be a normal person, or they could just be like, "Oh, it's me, but I'm inside Greg," or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm no longer Greg.
I like to break the rules a bit and just, demons can possess anybody, I guess, or, not your players, not, for the story, but to have an adventure, just make him possess an innocent bystander, and then there you go, you have a monster to fight. Woo. Bam.
And then,
like, with the bindings and stuff, like, if you have bound a demon, they are not going to be happy about it, most likely. Like, unless they are a particularly jolly demon who's like, you know what, I needed a break from that abyss, thank you so much. Like, if you bind them to an item in particular, like if you bind their soul so that their embodiment is within this item, then if they break out of that, they're going to be like, all right, mister, you just got something's coming your way right now, and it's gonna be my soul inside of your body. So there you go. Haha, I gotcha. And that's what's gonna happen, and then you're gonna be an unhappy boy. I'm gonna ramble a little longer.
That's all right.
Yes,
That's all right.
yes.
That's
No
what
such thing as
Creature
knowing
Club's
jazz.
all about.
Basically giving the idea that even in this thing, like, demons have their own agency. Like, they do feel anger mostly, but they also have, like, the compassion potentially.
No, they
like
don't.
You can have no. Oh yeah,
Possessing
yep,
no compassion,
defined.
empathy, or mercy.
Oh, you're
Tim,
right. I'm sorry.
It is in
I'm sorry.
the monster manual.
Oh, I'm banished now.
breaking the
I'm
rules.
banished to the.
You just got lawyered.
I'm banished to the shadow realm.
I'm going to put you in a bound
that's the
item if
thing
you're not
about-
careful.
No.
Nice one, Dan. Nice one. Up top.
Oh,
But yeah, D&D, you're not allowed to break the rules, so you have to do
Yeah,
it by the book,
exactly.
Tim. You have to do it. You have to do it.
no, but I would just make the argument that basically demons, the idea of a demon is like, if you want a compassionate and conflicted conflicted villain, that is why human beings exist.
Yeah.
You don't send a demon to do I don't know, Michael Keaton from Homecoming job. You send Michael fucking Keaton, like, you know.
Yeah, get him into your D&D game.
Oh my
and
god!
There you go, bam.
I bet he would be so good at it. He'd be so into it. I could see Michael Keaton getting really into it. Actually,
I'd say so.
he'd probably
Yeah.
be a lot of fun at the table.
What Daniel is
yeah.
basically saying is that all humans are demons. They just have compassion. There you go.
Yeah.
But what if you want to give your humans like rad demon powers and like a demon arm?
I already did that. Is that
What do you do
is
with
that
that
a
then?
setup or? I don't understand.
Yeah, sure. Well, the people
It's
listening don't know
possible.
that.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Yeah. No.
We have the technology.
Yeah. Well, that's what a warlock is basically. A warlock is a mortal soul that makes a deal with a devil or demon, and as a result, if you want to give them rad demon powers but keep the nice compassionate side of them, just do that. Have a warlock who's maybe motivated by good but powered by evil, and
Yeah.
therefore
And,
every act turns to foulness and cruelty.
Yeah. Like on the note of the warlocks, like what I do in my setting specifically, just to give some context for what you could do with it, like what I decided is I have my pantheon of gods and basically bad gods, but anytime somebody is like, I want to play this warlock, but I want to use this god or this big creature as my connection, I basically say, okay, yeah, they are this extraplanar deity, and you can steal that if you like. Like, they are basically just, they're not a god, they're not like a bad god. They're just this
Bad god.
dude. Yeah, bad god.
new
It's
on
just like-
new on AMC. Bad gods.
they're basically just this powerful creature that exists in the universe, not necessarily this plane, that, you know, like allow your players to use whatever character that they want to, but, you know, like don't necessarily bind your players to a smaller world. Like, expand your world to fit your players is what I would suggest.
Yeah.
Players aren't that big though, so they can probably fit in your world.
Yeah.
anyway.
If your world can't fit players, what is this? A world for ants?
Oh,
Yeah,
Is that good?
nice.
Is that
Great
a good
reference.
Is that a good reference?
Fantastic.
Thank you.
It
Thank you.
is.
That's a good guys Zoolander reference, man.
Thank you.
Like,
Thanks. Thanks so much.
how old is that film? Like,
I actually don't know. It's quite old.
Oh, it might be 20-ish years now at this point.
Yeah, actually. All right, let's
Yeah.
let's get over this nonsense. Yeah, demonic possession. It's bad. Also, the soul of the person who is possessed might still be inside their body. So if you're not careful, if you kill the demon in the body, you might also send the person to heck, which is bad, obviously, for them, and maybe for you, depending on
yeah,
how much you liked or disliked that person.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, we've done enough faffing about. Let's get to what the show is really about.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, let's put the music here. Woo. We'll put the music here. So
Where?
I guess play it now. Thank you.
Okay,
Sorry.
so the monster we are covering today is the first monster. I think this is alphabetical.
Yes.
It's the Balor or Balor or
Tasty.
Balor. I don't know. You could say it any way you like.
So the Balor, for you guys who don't know what it looks like and don't really know what it is, if you know a short little book series that turned into a independent film series called The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
The first one, The Fellowship of the Ring. The first part there was the Balrog. He is a Balor.
Yeah, basically.
So if you can picture a like a bull head, red, ripped guy, and he has big wings, like a typical,
Yeah.
devil kind of looking guy.
And he has a
But if you do know Lord of the Rings, it's the Balrog, basically.
he has a sword
Yes.
made of lightning and a whip made of fire.
Yes.
Radical. And we do get a brief description,
Yeah.
which I will read out now.
Yeah,
The
please.
Balor. Figures of an ancient and terrible evil, Balors rule as generals over demonic armies, yearning to seize power while destroying any creature that opposes them. Wielding a flaming whip and a long sword that channels the power of the storm, the Balor's battle prowess is fueled by hatred and rage. It channels this demonic fury in its death throes, falling with a blast of fire that can destroy even the hardiest of foes. There you go.
So you might have like 20 con and you're happy with your fighter, but a Balor will probably get him.
Yeah,
You know.
even if you put down the Balor, when he pops, you pop.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that part in a sec.
Exciting.
All right, you ready?
So yeah, Balor. Yeah, ready. What's this?
Hug fiend demon, chaotic evil.
Yeah.
Hug your.
Hug fiend.
Always remember to
Hug
hug your
fiend.
friend.
He's a hug.
He's a hug friend.
He's a hug. He's a hug. He's a fiend for the hugging, guys.
Yeah, huge fiend.
Hug you, fiend.
That's how you
Hug
describe
you,
the
hug
Balor.
you fiend. That's his that's his name. Hi, this is Hug you fiend. He's my transfer student. Balor, huge fiend, demon, chaotic evil. We actually do have to do a podcast, guys.
Yes, we
armor
do.
19, natural armor.
Yeah.
Hit points 262, which is 21 d12s plus 126, which is
All
pretty
right.
nice. Speed, it has a 40 feet normal movement, and it has an 80 feet of fly speed, which is very good.
Yeah.
Its stats make fun of yours. It has 26 strength, 15 dexterity, 22 constitution, 20 intelligence, 16 wisdom, and 22 charisma.
But Daniel,
Yeah.
that's above the rules.
That's against the rules. It's against
No,
the
it's
rules
above
for
the rules.
Well, it's against.
yeah, it's against the rules for players. This guy just took feats and stuff.
No.
Yeah.
Feats.
No.
Okay,
Why?
saving throws: strength, constitution, wisdom, and charisma. Okay, so everything except dexterity and intelligence.
Yes.
Damage resistance.
So you can get him with a fireball.
Could get him.
Even
Oh
though-
yeah, well you could try. Damage resistance is cold, lightning, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. Okay, so kind of typical. And then damage immunities, fire and poison. So much for the fireball.
Oh man.
Condition immunities,
Lightning.
Yeah, so,
poisoned as you'd expect because they can't be damaged by poison. Therefore, they are also immune to the poison condition.
Very good.
Senses true sight 120 feet, so piss to your rogue. Passive perception 13, so actually your rogue might be fine. Languages, abyssal, and telepathy up to a range of 120 feet, which is as far as their true sight. So if they spot you, they can mind chat you. They can slide into your mental
Don't worry,
DMs.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can slip
Don't worry,
into-
guys. I speak abyssal. I'll chat to him.
I'm going to seduce the Balor. And they have a
Crit 20. I win.
and they have a challenge rating of 19. In other words, they are worth 22,000 experience points, which is
Delicious.
Which is all right. Yeah, it's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the ability that was described in their lore. Death throws. When the Balor dies, it explodes, and each creature within 30 feet of it must make a DC 20 dexterity saving throw. Fucking hell. Taking 20 d6, an average of 70 fire damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. The explosion ignites flammable objects in the area that aren't being worn or carried, and destroys the Balor's weapons. So you're not allowed to take his cool weapon,
Aw,
butts to
yeah,
you.
you can't
man.
take his cool weapons.
that's disappointing.
I do think it's hilarious that it talks about how, like, even in death, a Balor can bring down its foes. But, like, if a Balor is fighting a Balor and it blows up, the Balor doesn't feel anything. It's just, like, cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that kind of lends itself to their like fighting among each other because there's going to be multiple Balors and like
Yeah.
they just like breathe in the explosion of their defeated foe. I like that imagery. Oh man,
Like the
Seeing-
like the quickening.
Like the quickening, yeah. I was actually just thinking that. I was literally just thinking like the quickening.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Maybe you could have like a thing where like the death, if there's two Balors fighting, like instead of the death throws happening, the surviving Balor like absorbs the first one and then does their own like explosion.
I will now absorb the pure one. Anybody get that reference?
Nope.
It's Scooby-Doo, the live-action movie.
Wow. That is a
We're really
deep
going
cut, huh?
Mm-hmm.
The references
really going
are
deep with these
becoming
references.
more untenable by the second.
Beat that one. So
All right.
his next
I
ability.
thought my Pursuit Force reference from a couple episodes ago
Not
was a
actually
pretty
in
good deep
context,
cut.
please.
but-
good.
Other people have to listen to the show, guys.
Fire Aura. At the start of each of the Balor's turns, each creature within 5 feet of it takes 10 3d6 fire damage, and flammable objects in the aura that aren't being worn or carried ignite. A creature that touches the Balor or hits it with a melee attack while within 5 feet of it takes 10 3d6 fire damage.
Didn't you say, DC, that the dragons in 4th edition had a similar ability to that, where if you hit them in melee, they would deal damage to you?
Ooh.
Yes, basically, if you hit a dragon with a melee attack, he hits you with like a tail attack or something. Like
Sweet.
yeah, basically that. So this is more like the Azer's flame body. I think that's what it's going with. And if you hit him, then he just does another fire attack against you because he's so big and the fires on him are so intense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man, when the Balrog does his big roar thing and he just like ignites a little further, oh, it's so cool. Like when I talked about the Balors fighting, I just saw two Balrogs fighting in my head, and it was the coolest thing I've ever imagined. And I've imagined some cool stuff. I've imagined eating an ice cream at the same time as eating an ice pop.
Wait,
That's pretty cool, though. That's the thing.
that's pretty cool.
Pretty
That's ice cold, I would say.
Hey,
nice. Well,
it's
cooler than being cool.
I think it is cooler than being cool.
Its last two little abilities are magic resistance. The Balor has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects, and it has magic weapons. The Balor's weapons are magical. Weapon attacks are magical. So there you go.
To give him a little bit of a bump,
Just a little bump.
to make him a good boss man, if you want to find him.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He has.
All right, and he has some
he has
actions.
4 actions.
Yes, he has a multi-attack. The Balor makes 2 attacks, one with its longsword and one with its whip. So he has a longsword attack, which is a melee weapon attack, plus 14 to hit, reach 10 feet because he's huge. 1 target, hit 21 on average, 3d8 plus 8 slashing damage, plus 13 3d8 lightning damage. Nice, because he has a lightning sword.
Yeah.
Cool.
If the Balor scores a critical hit, it rolls damage twice. It rolls damage dice 3 times instead of twice.
Whoa!
Is that a thing? Is that a thing because he's big, or is that just a Balor thing?
Is that a
I think it's just
critical thing?
I think it's just a Balor thing. There's
It
a.
might just be a Balor thing.
What? Sorry, what was that, Tim?
That's a.
Oh, is that ability for the barbarian has a kind of brutal critical thing? Because
yeah, I
know
was
the
going to say.
barbarians
Yeah, I think
do.
you're right.
Yeah, they do
I
a
think
bunch
it's
of
called brutal
critical
yeah.
stuff.
That's a half orc savage attack or savage attacks
I thought it was Savage Attacker.
feat. Savage attacker, that's just the feat. Savage attacks is the half orc feat.
Oh, sorry.
It's so
confused, I
dumb how
apologize.
they sound so different. It's like dwarven resilience
Yeah, and dwarf resilience.
resilience.
Yeah, 2 different features. One of which you get for being a dwarf. One of which is a feat you can take for being a dwarf.
Wow.
Yeah, always. When you guys are writing different books for your RPG, can you just talk to the other people
Or just
in the office when
pick
you're
up
making
the
these
other
feats?
fucking
Like,
book and read it for like 1 second. There are
Actually, that's a good
there
idea
are
too.
like 4 pages of feats in the player's handbook, and like there are almost
Know your
there's like
source
1
material.
page each of each like racial ability for each race. Like there is literally no excuse. It's unbelievable. It's like the laziest writing. It's like, well, it's a dwarf thing and it lets you be a little tougher, so I guess it's dwarven resilience. Does the dwarves already have a power called that? Oh, I can't imagine they do. That's such an original name. There's no way that anyone thought of dwarven resilience before. Fucking hell.
Before Daniel explodes, let's get on with the next
I'm
one.
not
Thank
done.
you for
No,
making
I'm-
our favorite hobby ever, wizards.
No, I mean it's great,
With,
but like if you do this, you are going to get dragged because it's just.
Next attack is Whip. Melee weapon attack, plus 14 to hit, reach 30 foot. 1 target. It deals 15 2d6 plus 8 slashing damage, plus 10 3d6 fire damage. And the target must succeed on a DC 20 saving throw or be pulled up to 20 feet towards the Balor. Ooh.
Yeah, it's cool.
Dynamic.
I really like
DC
it.
20 strength saving throw. Because you just missed that part, but that's fine.
Oh, whoops.
That's all right.
It's like the bit where Grondelf gets pulled down the mountain.
It sure is.
Yes, and he goes like, "Help me, you fools!
And he goes,
I'm dying." And
he
then
goes,
they're
"Fry
like,
up, what's up?" And then he dies.
I misheard what Gandalf said for so many years, and until I turned on the subtitles and discovered he said "fly, you fools."
What did you
I
think
was
he
so
said?
confused. I think I thought he said lots of different things. I thought he said
okay.
"cower, you fools." He said like I got the "you fools" bit,
Yeah.
but it was so much. Like it was like
Yeah,
I
basically.
didn't know what he said.
Okay.
Like even now, the first word doesn't quite sound like "fly" to me. You know, like I
It's
know
more
it's there. I just contribute it. Yeah, I just have to be like, he says, "Fly, you fools." But yes, the whip.
Gandalf
is
dies.
his whip.
Spoilers.
Well, Gandalf the Grey dies. Gandalf the White doesn't, so it's fine.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. I didn't know he'd come back. Ugh.
I didn't know he'd die and then come back and then die again and then come back again.
He has a teleport action. The Balor magically teleports along with any equipment it is wearing or carrying up to 120 feet to an unoccupied space it can see. So yeah, he can fly, he can hit you real hard, and he can also teleport. So there you go.
There is no
OP,
escaping this boy.
much.
Also,
Nerf, please.
it says you can teleport to an unoccupied space it can see. It takes up more than one space. It is
Yeah, I know, I
huge,
think
like
that as
4x4 or like 5x5.
Huge is
even?
4x4, yeah. Wait,
Okay, yeah, you need a lot of space.
No, sorry, huge is 3x3. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
because medium
That's
is
not too
1x1, large is 2x2, huge is 3x3, and gargantuan is 4x4. I think.
Or larger, I think. I think gargantuan is 4x4 or
gargantuan
larger.
can break the rules and be as big as it needs to be, basically. But like
Yes.
generally, unless otherwise, it's that much. Obviously, like for example, like the Tarask is technically gargantuan, but it's obviously a lot bigger than that.
Yeah, Gargantuan's like can be anything past huge,
exactly.
basically.
It's
like
just
any
big,
size.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, tiny, small, medium, large, huge, gargantuan. So yeah,
Great.
the
Yes.
gargantuan is 20 by 20 feet or larger.
Yes.
Perfect. Glad we settled that.
Perfect.
Okay, so that's the stat block as it stands. Any thoughts?
I like
Any
it.
thoughts?
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of things.
Yeah, like this is probably like one of the most exciting monsters that we have covered so far with regards like just a straight battle. I think he's very, very cool. Like I've always loved him with all of my heart. I'm sorry, Ivy, if you're listening to this.
I'm impressed with like how straightforward he is in a way,
Yeah.
and I don't mean that as like a criticism necessarily. Like because I feel like I like for example, I like the fact that he has a fire aura that deals damage if you're close to him, and then or if you melee attack him, so you want to be far away, but then he has a whip that pulls you closer to him, so now you are in the fire aura. That's like a really great example of like really simple mechanical synergy. I like stuff like that. So like he wants to pull you close and then hit you with the fire aura and then hit you with the sword. But I also like stuff like how he only has 2 attacks, which is interesting because he's such a high level creature. Like he's challenged 19, which means that like the party are going to be around 19th level, which means the fighter has like 3 attacks per action at this stage. Or do they have 4 at this stage actually?
The
No,
fighter?
4. That's 20.
Oh, sorry.
But you
Okay,
have
I
4
apologize.
attacks. Unless you're doing like 2 weapon fighting.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, I just meant purely with like their attack action and their extra attacks. So yeah, so a fighter of any kind is making more attacks than the Balor at this stage, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But I think it's because the weapons are both very, very damaging, and they also both have kind of little unique flourishes. The longsword obviously having the super crit, which I don't really think is going to come up much. And if it does, it's just very bad news. But then the whip is actually really cool. I really, really, really like the whip. I'm a big fan of the whip ability.
I think that the only criticism that I would have of its abilities that I can think of right now is the reach on the whip. Like it's only 30 foot, which
I see what you
definitely
mean. Yeah,
serves
yeah.
to pull you. Like he can pull you 25 feet, which if you are in range, it'll pull you into his fire aura.
Yeah.
But like there's no threat of his fire aura if you are outside of that. Like I think I would probably give it like a 45 or 60 foot range so that he can pull you a little bit closer like each time. Like effectively he will almost always pull
I know what you mean.
people
Yeah.
that are into his fire aura. But yeah, I think that Like that's probably the only thing that I would.
I think
have
it's.
to say
I actually think it's a very fair point that like his reach is lower than his movement speed and everything else, and like given that he has to have you within 5 feet to use his aura, he actually probably wants you to be a little closer. But I suppose the only thing I would say, purely in terms of like if you're using say a battle map, is that because he is a huge creature and he's a lot bigger, it'll actually be a lot easier to get into 30 feet of creatures.
Oh,
Just
also,
because he takes more space.
yeah, but also, the fire aura only works at the start of the Balor's turn.
Yeah.
So if he whips you and pulls you into his fire aura, that the fire aura doesn't do any damage.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That seems kind of cumbersome to me. Like I would have thought that if you wanted to whip him into your fire aura, you'd want to keep them there, and maybe have the fire aura effect at the end of his turn, where he does his movement and he does his action and he jumps into position and he whips everybody close to him, and then he like burns his fiery fury around him at the end of his turn.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd probably switch that around.
I suppose that's the thing. Like, it's. I think the idea behind it not doing that might be so that it gives players a chance to respond. So that, like, if you know that the Balor spends its turn whipping one of the characters, then you know that, like, if you're not out of range by, if you're not out of range by the start of its turn, you're going to take that damage. Okay. So now it's so I suppose I don't disagree necessarily, but like that's what I assume the idea is, that you kind of know what's coming and you're like able to plan and strategize around it and make moves based on that knowledge.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to make him as deadly as possible.
He's already very deadly.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know when I was making you guys fight against a Balor in my game, I kind of did a small little homebrew where I made him be able to grapple you with his whip and pull you closer to him, and he was also able to like smack you around while you're grappled on the whip like a real quick.
Yeah.
Like where he just kind of smacked you against the ground or the wall, and just to make it just for a different move and just a little bit more deadly. So I thought it was a bit fun.
That was a great fight.
A fun little moment. Yeah. But yeah, cool. Shall we, I guess, real quick, just go into our dessert
absolutely.
part, I guess?
All right.
Cool. Moving on.
Hello. Welcome to dessert. Please eat some dessert.
Hello, welcome to
get
dessert.
in this
Please
tub,
sit down. Hot dessert.
Get in this tub full of ice cream with us. We swear
Enjoy
we
this
bathed
combination.
recently.
Enjoy my combination of an ice cream and an ice pop.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. It's cooler than being cool.
Ice cold.
Okay.
All right.
So you're fighting a Balor in the room from the Matrix where he goes, we'll need weapons, and before the weapons arrive, so it's very empty.
We need weapons, and then a Balor arrives.
We need the weapons.
Yeah, he says.
Can you get me the weapons? That's the line in the Matrix.
He says, Branthony, can you get the weapons? And then they all show up.
And then Brantley's like, I'm not your maid. Do it yourself, man. Get your own weapons.
There's a lot of hostility in that scene, actually. But yeah.
There really is, yeah. Anyway.
You're in that room, you and the Balor, you're squaring off, you and the party, you're ready to fight. So I think the Balor is interesting because I feel like I do legitimately think, like, on its own against a reasonably well-equipped 19th level party, it will actually probably go down pretty quickly. Even though it has a lot of health.
Yeah.
Because at that level, it's got a relatively low armor score altogether. Like it's challenge 19 and has 19 natural armor, which is good. But at that stage, people have +6 proficiency bonuses. So if we assume you've got +6 to the bonus and you've got +5 in the stat you need to attack, that means you've got +11, which means that even if you roll an 8, you'll still hit the Balor.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think his ability, I think his damage is actually very, like, it's pretty variant. Like, it's, I mean, if we look at his longsword, for example, the average it'll deal is 34, which isn't a huge amount in terms of kind of high level damage. I actually personally sort of like that more. I kind of prefer the design where you give the Balor 200 hit points, like 260 instead of 160, and then you drop all his damage, so that, like, basically the players and the Balor have a chance to slap each other around a bit.
Yeah, and I guess because only tough guys are this is kind of a weird way of putting it. But I guess because only your high level characters will be going up against him, like story wise, it'll make sense where maybe he won't be doing as much damage because your players and your player characters are stronger now, I guess. Maybe that's a way you can describe it. But mechanics wise, it makes sense with you, Dan. But he still does a lot of damage in one turn. Like he's doing, let's see, 21 plus 13, 24. And the 34. Whip, he's doing 25. So if he hits one person with that, that's a lot of damage.
59 damage.
Yeah, 59 damage.
59 damage.
That's an average.
Possibly to one person. Yeah, an average of that.
And I suppose the other thing to consider is that it's a very flexible sequence of attacks. One makes 2 attacks, one with his longsword and one with his whip. You don't have to do them in that order. You could have the whip go first, pull a player in close, and then hit them with the longsword. So the Balor can very easily break up its attacks, target the characters who have less health. I think it's very easy, for example, for a Balor to go after the casters in the party, like the Bard and the Wizard, who don't have
especially
as much health.
Teleport.
Yeah. So like when you think about how fast they can fly and how much damage they can do, and like the thing that I think is very cool that I'd really like to use if I was having a fight with the Balor is have them fly and whip people up to them and then hit them with their longsword and let them fall. So then like you kind of like literally like juggle them effectively, like pull them up, slash them, and then they take the full damage for falling 25 feet as well.
That's pretty badass.
Which is both cool, and then lets the monk, who gets a specific ability to do with not take full damage, gets to use that ability for once.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or for
once in his life.
Or if the wizard actually prepped Featherfall, then they can use it. I mean, they might also have just fly at that stage. But if they don't and they have Featherfall, or if someone else has, say, a ring of Featherfall or something, it'll come up in a cool way.
Yeah. I originally in my game when you guys fought against a Balor, I was things changed because Tim, you went off to America, so I had to do it quicker than I thought. But you guys were going to find him on your airship, and I was going to have him flying through the air while you guys were fighting this guy. And I did have an idea at one point, like, what if he grabbed you in the air and you guys are just in this like high altitude, and one of your players is just falling, then like while you're fighting this Balor, you would have to like get behind the wheel and like spin the helm and then like fly down to catch him, like or something, or send a guy out to fly on their flying broomstick or whatever you guys have at the moment. Like it'll be a lot more dynamic, you know.
Yeah.
In that game, we had a lot of super badass air combat as it was, like fighting against the Rock, and like to fight a Balor again later on and just have it be even more intense. That's very, very cool.
Adding that dimension to it is very fun. So instead of just like you guys are all on the ground and you're fighting this thing, but a Balor can fly, so he should be up in the air as well and trying to bring you up there with him. So do that. It's cool.
Awesome.
So the fight is, as you said, it's a he's got a lot of health, and it's just pretty interesting. It's just slap.
Yeah, it's kind of a good slap back and forth overall, I think.
Yeah.
I think what will make the Balor fight more interesting is good allies that do stuff for the Balor, and I think more importantly than that, arguably, a good arena. I think a good arena will really separate a Balor fight from fine to like really, really memorable, because the Balor is basically quite a straightforward monster. Like, its abilities are cool and exciting, but they are not complicated in a very good way. Like, what does he do? He flies, he sets you on fire if you stand next to him, he takes less damage from spells, and he deals magic damage. He has 2 attacks, and he can also teleport, which is fine. He'll probably use that. I don't even think he'll use it most fights, to be honest, because he can fly 80 feet, and he can pull you 30 feet, which is almost as much as he can move when he teleports, and he still gets to attack you if he does that. But it is cool that he has it. It means that he's very flexible. So like basically he's very, very mobile. He's able to deal a good amount of damage each turn, and it's a pretty flexible kind of damage because it's 1 10-foot attack, which means he outreaches most party members, and 1 30-foot attack, which means he outreaches fucking everyone. And that basically means that he can do a cool thing where he can do flyby attacks. So he's striking the party and then moving away with the rest of his fly speed. I don't think he's ever.
Characters won't get the opportunity attacks.
Yeah, I think the only time he's adjacent to party members is when he wants to try and hit them with his fire aura, if he ever really cares about that, or I guess with his death throws ability, arguably, if he knows he's going to die soon. But other than that, he's always he's playing keep away because he knows he has the range advantage and the speed advantage, compared to most party members. And so I think a way to break up that fight and make it really interesting is like really exciting dynamic terrain. I'm thinking like big stone pillars on a lake of lava.
Yes, that was in my head as well.
With like maybe like with maybe a couple of them having some like bridges or something to connect them, but broadly it being reliant on like you're either going to have to jump the distance or use magic or something to get across, or like an item of some kind.
Yeah.
And then just the Balor is like flying, swooping around. It's using the whip to pull you and then pull you off the stone columns and into the lava, and then you're falling. So you better have feather fall or something, or you're going to hit that lava hard. And this very dynamic fight where it's always about like it's kind of sweeping around these massive stalactites. And maybe the party can get up there. Maybe they have like spider climb or something. So then now they're fighting it sideways on this big pillar or whatever, while the rest of you are like plinking it with arrows and trying to dodge its whip as it swings at you and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think this guy is so broadly usable that you could use him in virtually any context, apart from like a very enclosed space, and he'll be a very dynamic fight. Like he'll basically do the same kind of thing for most fights, unless you use some kind of variation of him.
Yeah.
But like, and as you said, he because he is like defined as a general of the demonic army, he will have others around him that will either complement it, or like that he'll be able to strike around. Like you'll be fighting with his little minions and peons, and then he'll be jumping in every now and again.
I know right next to the stat block here is a variant
say.
for demon summoning that he does. And they have a once per day daily for summoning demons. And a Balor has a 50% chance of summoning 1d8 Vrox, 1d6 Hezros, 1d4 Galbrezus, 1d3, so get out your 1d3 guys, Nalfushites, and 1d2 Marlets, and 1 Garisto.
Or one Garisto. Yeah. So what I would say is, like, if you want to set up your fight with the Balor, and maybe they have time to prepare before the party arrive, basically roll for each of these groups separately and figure out how many of them are just on the battlefield to start. Because, as I said before, the cool thing about having a boss fight with a couple of just sort of assholes hanging around is that it gives the people who have like AoE spells something to do. But even on like, even it means like on the turn where you're like, oh, the Balor's too far away, I can't hit them with my javelin. You just javelin like a random Vrock who just never saw it coming, and that's just funny.
Yeah.
Like that's really entertaining, and it's cathartic for the player to know like I still got to do something on my turn.
Yeah, like everybody wants to hit the big bad, but like if you don't deal with those guys that are clipping your wings essentially, then you're gonna have a big problem.
Yeah,
and when he does his summon, you get to do one of those things.
Yes, it's a 50% chance of one of them, but depending on the sort of power level of your players, you might as well. You could roll for each of them, roll a 50% chance whether or not you get them, and then roll separately the actual dice. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, right. Yes.
Which is different to the rule here, but it is a nice suggestion for what kind of forces a Balor might use as a demonic general.
Or he just has one Garisto. He just has one buddy.
Yeah, he just has
who he summons
his
instead. Like
2 brothers.
Yeah, like, hey, do you mind if I bring my brother to this fight?
He's been bored this whole time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like that would be extremely dangerous for the fight, obviously.
Absolutely.
But it would be really, really exciting and iconic, especially if you did have it be a percentage chance, so that like you rolled and maybe the players could try to disrupt that in some way.
I'm a big fan of the demons. They're a very cool source of a lot of like evil in your world. But the Balor, being the big bad, is like the embodiment of all of that.
He's like
a big fan.
My only criticism of the Balor, and this is purely like a kind of the context of how I play D&D, because it's a challenge 19 monster, like I would prefer if they scaled it down and made it say like a challenge 14 monster and encouraged you to run it as part of a group combat. Just because like in all the games we play, we really don't get to 19th level. We don't get to the level where the party could easily fight a Balor. And I think that's just a shame, because they're pretty cool, and it would be fun to have them be part of kind of the landscape you fight in. But the fact of the matter is that they're so high level that like you don't necessarily get a chance.
Yeah, and if you are fighting a challenge rating 19 monster and he has these other friends, that bumps up the challenge rating very very quickly.
Yeah.
But when I was playing it for you guys, I bumped him down a small bit, and you can probably even do more of that when you're doing it and add some guys in there. But I guess I don't really know how to do that. I don't know how to nerf him really. I don't know what's the mechanics in that, but yeah, whatever. Like, you just kind of go with what you think and then say, I'll just get rid of a couple of hit points maybe and bring down a dice of health or a dice of damage on his longsword and whip, and maybe that'll work. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way, because I think a lot of his abilities do kind of combo really really well and make it interesting. Like, if you were to remove one of them, maybe his magical attacks, just so that like resistances work. Like, everything else kind of works well together, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
so I think just removing dice is probably the best.
Like, yeah,
the magic weapons are there for in case you have like a friendly ghost who hangs around with you, and you can attack that ghost.
Ooh.
Attack the
ghost.
ghost.
Yeah, it is interesting that it has magic weapons. I guess that's just because it's a high level monster, but it is funny because, like, resisting non-magical weapons is a very monster thing to do, and it's actually something very rarely done by players. They generally tend to have either like typed resistances, like resisting fire or like lightning, or they have the barbarians thing of resisting everything, or just resisting weapon damage depending on what kind of barbarian they are.
Yeah.
Another idea I want to talk about for having a fight with a Balor is having a fight with a Balor with a lower level party, because that would be exciting, and give them an angel ally. I think that'd be really cool and very iconic.
Super iconic.
So just maybe Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Just get the Deva, because they're only challenge rating 10, so they are much weaker, like, objectively, but they're still very tough. Obviously, much tougher than a normal player. And the cool thing about them is that they have some healing magic as well, so that they can like help the party. They start to fall, but like if you were like. Yeah, because like the difference in challenge rating then is like 9, so you could literally get like this is fucking me improvising. This might not be fair by the rules of the game at all, but you could get like a 9th level party, maybe like slightly lower. Let's say like a 7th level party, and you could be like an angel teams up with you, so you can go kill like a fucking Balor, like, and they like open a gateway to the abyss, so you can confront it in its plane so that it's killed forever. Like, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, that would be. That's very metal. It's a very heavy metal album cover that you're explaining there.
Yep. That's very cool.
Yeah, maybe you're fighting at the start by yourself, and then maybe one turn happens and he damages your Grog the half-orc barbarian and his health's almost down, and then bam, the angel hops in and you're like, yes, we have maybe a chance now, and then he fights him with you, and then there you go.
Yeah.
Or you could summon another demon who is of a similar level, and then they start fighting each other for power, and then
that's very dangerous.
That's I agree.
It's like the getting mongooses to deal with snakes, and then burning the forest down so you can deal with all the mongoose, and then like I don't know what that system is called. I'm sure there is a name for it.
Where Old Lady Wait the Fly,
basically.
Maybe. Fly,
delicious.
That's rad though. That's a cool idea, Daniel. That's
totally.
That'd be really fun. I'd love to do that.
Like, that's something that the players will remember. So like, make as cheesy as it is to do something as kind of classic as that, it is something that your characters will remember. Like, it's okay to use the classics to make your campaign a little bit more memorable.
Yeah,
because it is a cool thing that can happen in the world.
And the cool thing is that, like, it's just a big damage soak, basically. Like, that's all it's really there for. It's just there so that the Balor doesn't kill the party. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the main character. It's just there to like soak up a couple of hits before you
exactly
burn all your dailies or whatever.
Yeah.
But also like, introducing that maybe kind of earlier on is cool, because what if you're getting these new guys to play D&D with you, and then you're like, okay, let's introduce something cool. You give them like a high level encounter near the start, just to like
give them a taste,
and then give them a taste.
The first one's free.
Like,
you need to play for 100 hours to get the next one.
do we get to fight that guy at some point? Maybe like by ourselves, and then they might get into it,
or they become more powerful than the angel that was their ally.
Wow.
Exactly, yeah. It's a very All Might versus Nomu situation going on
Yeah.
here.
And thus the pupils surpassed the teacher. The eternal job of the master is like to teach the younger ones so that they can finally see them, overtake them, and become more powerful.
I shall become a footnote in
Well,
your
how cool
story.
it'd be if your D&D character got mentored by an angel. That's pretty cool.
It's pretty sweet,
I don't
alright.
know why they would do that though. They have better other things to do.
Well, we talked about the idea
Then
that there was
teach you.
fallen angels who would live outside of society because they were like
Yeah.
they
Yes.
broke the rules of their god, and therefore they were disallowed to join. So it could be
Yes.
the case that they are in hiding as a human, because remember the Deva can change shape, so they could be a normal person for all intents and purposes.
Indeed.
That's very true. And also, if you had like a celestial warlock, like Tim, you had one.
I did indeed.
A game that we did with Brafu, the Holy Man, Stephen Brady, patron saying the podcast, DMing, and you had like an angel guy as your patron.
Sure
when
did.
you're the celestial. Maybe you can have something similar like that. Maybe
Yeah.
these fallen angels are just going around teaching people their ways and mechanically wise, it's a celestial warlock. You know.
Yeah, like my guy was basically interested in space and the world and how it all worked, and this angel guy basically just came along and was like, "Hey, that's kind of my realm," and then he adopted me and he became my my angel dad.
That's my realm. You're my son now. Okay.
Yeah, all right. That's how you get a dad.
Yeah.
If you just hang
Be
around the auto
interested.
shop long enough,
Yeah.
you just get it.
Yeah.
Then a grumpy old man that you see there will eventually put his arm around you and pat you on the shoulder and be like, "You'll be all right, kid." And then that'll be your dad.
Anyway, this is not the angel episode, guys.
Yeah,
This is the
Tim.
demon episode.
Oh, jeez.
This is the demons episode. Yeah, so
Yeah,
the Balor is pretty cool, pretty menacing,
is.
but he's just a big demon
big man. If you,
who hits hard.
I think I will just want I just want to reiterate very quickly, like obviously the angel versus demon dichotomy is super old school, but like you could play with this big book of monsters you have and say like, well, you know, nothing likes the Balor, right? Like nobody likes Balors, so maybe you, instead of teaming up with an angel, you team up with like a dragon, right? And you're like riding on its back and firing arrows at it, or like something really weird, like
Yes.
a purple worm, or like, you know, something unusual from this book, this giant book, a kraken. Fuck, imagine how cool that would be. You confront a demon in the ocean and a kraken steps in to back you up because he's like, "No, I hate demons too, man. What's up?" And it's like
Like you're flying
like-
over with
like,
your airship.
you could
and he's
destroy me,
chasing
but you're
after
no
you.
match for the might of the sea. And then this massive tentacle reaches up and pulls it into the ocean, and like it's the last you see of it.
That's rad. That is rad.
That's super fucking cool.
A werewolf. I just open up a random page. Werebear, Kenku,
Nice.
Grell. They're all crap. A giant maybe though. That'll be cool.
Giants would
That'll
be cool,
Yeah.
yeah.
Instead of giants, you become friends with giants, or a unicorn.
Sphinxes would be a good one.
Yeah.
We're all just looking through the book now, I presume.
Yeah, yeah.
Dinosaur. Oh, that imagine being like on a T-Rex.
Fucking
we
Jurassic
did that
Park.
though. We
Dinosaur.
actually we did that though. Our wizard, played by our friend Jack, transforms into a T-Rex, and you fought a Balor as a T-Rex. So that already
Yeah.
happened. Simpsons
It's
did
been
it.
done. Yeah, but that would be cool. Like even that idea of like using the might of nature against your unnatural foes is very cool.
Totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Balor is cool. It's a nice chance for some big bombastic fights. Might be a good chance for some enemy of my enemy encounter where a previous foe of the party shows up to help you because nobody wants to see a Balor on the material plane.
Yeah.
A lot of cool stuff you could do there.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I think that is, you know, that's just like big iconic fight, and it is like super duper cool and just like spectacle. Like you're gonna have to do some pretty cool describing, or not even, just give them kind of a general idea. Like people will be able to imagine that at the table. If you have people at the table who are into it and get to the point where you want to introduce them to the larger ideas, then doing something like this is a cool way to do it. Like give them something that they know about, like demons, and something that they know about, like angels or the Kraken. And like, yeah, I'm just
Release the
leaning
Kraken.
hard into the idea about this whole like Titanic fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Use the Titanic.
Yeah, fight the Balor on the Titanic, and then be like, "You idiot! You can face me,
Actually-
but you're unmatched for the iceberg." And then the Titanic
Yeah.
sinks and the Balor dies.
And he's like, no.
No.
And he's like, wait, I can fly. And then he flies away. Like, crap.
But he can't swim,
And then you
DC,
just
so he
sink.
drowns.
He can only
right,
fly
okay.
80 feet, you know?
And then he has to fall. Like, ah!
He turns off his flying speed. Well, yeah, I think anybody else have any other interesting points that they want to bring up about the old Balor or about our introduction to demons?
Specifically with demons, I don't think I have much to say. I do want to. The one thing I do definitely want to do, and I know we're running a bit long, but there is something I want to touch on, which is, do we want to Monster Hunter this monster? Now,
Well, he explodes.
I was gonna say he does explode, but remember in the section we just read, you can bind demons into weapons or other items. So
Ooh.
if you were to bind the Balor into an item rather than fight it head on, what do you think you'd get?
Oh, boy.
I think you get like imagine if you got like a weapon, kind of like a Soul Calibur sword whip.
Yeah,
That's like fire and lightning, or you can switch from the fire and lightning. And it's super powerful, but the Balor spirit's in there, and he's not happy about that as well.
I like the idea of like, yeah, either like a sword whip or like just like a metamorphic weapon that like changes between the two, like at your will.
Yeah.
It just changes to a different shape.
Maybe you can get his wings and turn those either into a single cape that you can teleport with, or kind of cut it into wings for yourself that you can wrap around yourself and then you can teleport with. It might be cool.
A Balor mantle would be cool, yeah, if it like gave you the wings but also gave you the fire aura.
Ooh,
So you could like
yeah.
exude
Nice.
heat.
Yes.
That could be cool.
And maybe you can explode when you die. That'd be cool.
I want to
That would be fun little. That would be a very fun, like a weird detail to put in there. Like, oh, also I explode when I die, so that means when I die, I'm taking everyone down with me.
That would be so grim. I was actually gonna say it would be cool to make like to steal the move from Dragon Ball, like a Hell Zone grenade, which is just the Balor's death throw in like a little alchemical jar, and you just chuck it and it fucking blows up.
Yeah. So in the binding process, you have to beat a Balor down to extremely low health, and then you have to bind him in his weakest form so that, like, breaking this thing will cause that last point.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
He falls on the ground, and you get out a net, and you yell to your wizard, "Do it now!" And then he takes out his jar, his wizarding jar.
Yeah,
And he starts to say a couple magic words.
Yep.
And then he's like, I have to do this for 20 minutes. You go fight the other guys while I do this. And then there's like a time limit on your next fight.
It's the unholy hand grenade of Antioch. That's one of the relics that Brother Maynard carries with him. Brother Maynard.
Yeah, but seeing as he's a simple creature, I'd say the monster huntering of this monster would be simple. So
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you
stuff that we
could,
said.
you could go for, like, his skin for the con, or, like, you get, like, use his heart as, like, a pendant or something, or part of his heart as a pendant of strength, or basically anything. Like, any of his stats you can just put onto a pendant if you're strong enough to kill a Balor.
Yeah.
I think
It'd
it
be
makes
cool
sense.
to have like a helmet that's like built to resemble the Balor's head, and it gets you like, it lets you speak abyssal, maybe gives you the telepathy or the true sight, but also lets you like summon demons.
yeah,
Gives
I
you,
was
like,
thinking like
demon summoning power.
you get that. Yeah, you get that once a day. Like,
Yeah.
maybe you just get like a once a day summon lesser demon spell, and that's
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah, like it's deliberately
just
like,
have the
yeah,
spell.
exactly. Yeah, like you could do that to make it a little more straightforward. It's just like, oh, you can summon a lesser demon, but maybe it gives you like advantage on the check to maintain control of the demon or whatever.
Yes,
Ooh,
yes,
nice.
that'll be good.
I think that's it for the old monster hunting.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
like
good
that.
place to stop it there. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's the old first episode of our demon playthrough. Join us next time. I think we're probably going to be doing these intermittently. So the demon episodes will probably be interspersed with other content from normal Creature Club.
Yep.
I think that, like, our plan is definitely to also do this with the devils.
Yeah,
So
and the dragons.
we'll be skipping the devil section and jumping straight into dinosaurs
Yes.
next
Oh,
for our
yes.
next Creature Club. So get excited for that. We have a lot of dino fans in house already, so we're
Right.
excited for that one.
Yeah. So guys, and people at home, we all have to watch Jurassic Park before we do our next episode.
That's fair,
like
actually. That's
mandatory. That's homework.
Yeah,
that's for homework for the three of us. Homework for you guys at home. All right.
That's good homework. That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're not sure how long this series is probably going to last. We're probably going to start the episodes with maybe a little bit of history and maybe another little bit of general knowledge about some demons, but it's probably going to be primarily about the
specific demon. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
we'll probably go over at least 2 in the episode.
Yeah,
because
there's certainly some of the smaller guys we can do 2, I think.
Certainly.
So,
there are 11 in total, by the way. So
yeah, if you guys don't like that, then let us know. If you guys like that, let us know. But we're trying to figure it out as we go. So
yeah,
leave it to us, guys. Leave it to us.
So yeah, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us as always on creatureclubpodcast.com. You can contact us via our email, creatureclubpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Or through the contact page on our website.
Mm-hmm.
We have
or through
a
our
Twitter now
as well.
Yeah, I was going to say
Twitter, the old Creature Club Pod.
Yep.
We are also just called Creature Club Podcast, and I don't think there's anything else that you'll find. We have our little icon, so our very noticeably fuchsia icon. Have I missed anything?
If you have any homebrew submissions, we are always looking for homebrews. Both monsters, adventures, bad guys, good guys, magic items, spells. We'll take anything realistically. We're pretty flexible. And once we have enough of any given thing, be that more monsters or enough spells or enough bad guys or enough good guys or whatever, we'll do an episode on them. And we'd really like to do that. We've already done one homebrew special, which is an absolutely brilliant episode that I'd really recommend. But we'd love to do more of those, and we need you if we're going to do it.
Subscribe to us on whatever podcast format you use, and
leave a
join us
review
for next one. Leave a review on iTunes, please.
Thank you very much.
And if you do leave a review on iTunes, and if it's good or if it's bad, whatever, we'll read it out on air. So, Tim, you do have another one for us right now today?
Yes, I do. I have our next review. It is from Nuker Wolf via Apple Podcasts in the United States of America.
That's not a bad monster name, by the way. Sorry, go on.
Nuker Wolf. That is pretty cool. Sweet username. The title of the review is Essential for DMs, and he gave us a 5-star review. Mm-hmm.
It's very kind.
Very kind.
And it reads, with Creature Club and the DMs block, the ideas for campaigns are awesome. The only problem is I can't tell people that might play my games about it because they will realize I don't have original ideas. So yeah.
It's fine. If you wait long enough, all will be forgiven in time.
Indeed.
Indeed. Yeah, just basically do like sort of the guitar rule, right? Just be one lesson before them. So that by the time they reach it, you've already done the fight, you've already done the adventure, and they're like, "Oh, wait, you just did." It's like too late. So you already had fun. You can't take it back.
Yep.
Can't take back
that fun you had. Yeah, like at this point, we have enough content that whatever ideas that we presented to you will be lost in our catalog, in our archive.
Yeah,
like we have about 50 episodes at this point.
It's true.
So.
That's so strange to think about. We have so many episodes of Creature Club, and that's weird.
It is weird.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I love it. It makes me so happy that we've continued this, even if it is only relatively weekly podcast.
Yeah,
it is around about that number.
Well, like even if it's like bi-weekly, that's fine too. Like,
yeah,
and the main thing is it's a useful resource both for us and for other people.
Indeed,
yes.
And as much as we love giving you the content that everybody wants to listen to from us, you can listen to our Twitter, and if you get the notification from us that we have made a post that the new episode is out, then, by all means dive in and give it a listen. But if we don't have an episode out, we will also let you know, and we'll post on the website or just on Twitter, or we'll let you know basically whatever is happening that week. And here is to the future, to many more episodes of fun and interesting content and inventiveness.
To the future.
To the future.
Didn't a bad guy say that in the movie?
To which? To the future?
To the future. I feel like they did, but it's fine.
Well, we had what's his name? Leonardo DiCaprio playing the character of some famous inventor in America saying the way of the future.
Way of the future.
Way the future.
Way of the
Way of the
future.
future.
That was
Way
I
of the
forgot his
future.
name.
Yeah,
That
I
was the
forgot his
Aviator.
name.
Anyways, the film.
Way of the future.
Way the future.
Way of the future.
Yeah. Share the podcast around, guys. If you know someone who might enjoy this kind of content, and you're not weirded out by showing someone a podcast that you like, go ahead and share it around, because that's good. We like more people listening to us, so
Yeah.
that'll
absolutely.
be good stuff. If you
And if-
wish,
If
Yeah,
you don't,
no pressure.
we're still going to keep producing stuff. So,
exactly.
have fun.
So have fun, guys. Yeah, thanks so much for listening. This has been Creature Club. Join us next week for another episode of something. I have been Mikey.
I've been Tim.
And I've been Dan.
Stay cool.
Nice. Casual.